Hi friends, and welcome to my channel. My name is Tammy Ernest and I am a Longarm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share customer finishes as well as my own projects. And I'm so excited to be back here with you today. I have a full ladder full of quilts, some beautiful quilts to show you today, and some progress on my Calico Garden quilt along. And then I have some happy mail, but I'm gonna start with the happy mail. I said all that backwards because I'm gonna start with the happy mail, then do my updates on Calico Garden, and then do the client quilts. So this week I received, actually I think it was last week, I received a package of quilts in the mail from Lisa. And when I opened the package to start doing the intake on the quilts, there was a special gingham wrapped package inside. She had inserted a gift in there for me, and I just have to share these with you. These really made my day, and were such a blessing to me on that particular day. I really needed that encouragement, and Lisa had no idea, but it sure was a blessing. So let me first of all just show you the cutest little card that she inserted. And it says handmade from the heart. So Lisa even made the card. I mean, it is just adorable. It says just inchin' by and thought I'd say hi and look inside. When you open it, the apple opens up. It is so cute. And even though it's embossed, is that embossed? I'm not much of a card maker, but so pretty. And so inside the package, she has made a little project bag, a little bag for me. And this is using some fabric from an Erica Arndt quilt that she sent to me probably a month or so ago that I did the quilting on, and she used some leftover fabric and made the cutest little bag, completely lined on the inside, and she even has her little name tag inside there. And on the front she's done one of Lori's crocheted flowers, and then the cutest little, there's a little jingle bell, and then the little flower pot. It is just absolutely adorable, and I love Lisa's her detail, how she's done the lines down here, stitched these straight lines across, and then added the lace there where the two fabrics meet. It is just adorable, and I've already been using this. I had to, we were in the car and I needed to take some of my So Simple shapes that I'm working on for my Calico Garden, and so I slipped them inside this bag with my scissors and my thread-a-stat so I could turn them inside out. It was perfect. Held everything right there. Absolutely gorgeous. And then also in the package was this little pincushion. And I have seen these. These are Thread Milk Designs, has a whole series of states and statehood. And so this is Indiana. Lisa is originally from Indiana, no longer living in this state, but since I'm from Indiana, she made this cutest little pin keep for me. And it says Indiana 1816, because that's when that Indiana became a state. The 19 is because we were the 19th state admitted to the Union. The TP, she said, is stands for, the symbol of the TP stands for camp or home. And then the native, so the name Indiana means land of the Indians. And the Native American symbol of the arrow stands for protection and defense. So you have that there, and then the Native American. And she said she stitched this in using Classic Colorworks Apple Fritter. It's the perfect red, that deeper red that I so love. And then even the edging is so beautiful, and the back fabric. I just absolutely love this. And then she inserted these little pins. And she told me, let me find that, the pins are from Raquel at Pink Dragonfly Crafts on Etsy. Aren't those adorable? I'm just in love. This is so cute. And then one last little thing, she included this little needle minder, and it has the cutest little pink polka dot magnetic thing on the back. Just adorable. So, oh, Lisa, thank you. I mean, this was so timely, first of all, and just so thoughtful of all the gifts that you sent. And I am beyond words. I just can't believe all of that. So thank you so much, Lisa. That absolutely made my day, and was a real blessing to me on that day when I opened those up. So then I also have updates on my Calico Garden. So this is the sew along. Lori's already finished it and already moving on to the next one, but I'm still working on my Calico Garden. And this is the binder that I keep it all in. If you have been following me for a while and know how thick this was at the beginning, I'm really getting down there. And so I this week finished the spool flower blocks and the brown bird block, and so I only have 2 other weeks to catch up on, and so I'm really excited. But this is the sew along guide. If you're new to Lori's patterns, then she prints this, or she publishes this sew along guide on her blog, and this is free. You can download it. It is not a pattern. It just gives you the fabric requirements and the cutting instructions, and then you follow her blog each week, and that's where she gives you the instructions on how to create the blocks. Now what you will need to buy is the Sew Simple shapes that go along with the Calico Garden, and this is the way she does all of her applique quilt alongs. So the sew along guide is free, but you do have to purchase the Sew Simple shapes in order to make the pattern. But all of her past ones are all archived on her blog. It's super easy to go back and find any one of them. This is the most recent, and then she's got the next one starting here soon. But a real fun quilt. This is very large. Let me see if I can find the dimensions of the quilt. It finishes at 90 by 90, so it is a large quilt. So let me show you. First of all, I need to go back and update you on my fruit basket block. So last time I showed this, I showed you my mistake of when I took it to the sewing machine and had everything glue basted down, but evidently one of the leaves did not get glue basted because it fell off on the floor, and I completed the machine applique on the entire thing and did not find that leaf on the floor till after I was finished. So last time I showed this, I asked your opinion. Should I insert the leaf or leave it out? And majority of people said to pick it out, to pick the stitches and to insert it in there. Others had some clever suggestions about having it look like it fell off or having it down, you know, like it fell out of the basket. Really cute ideas, and all of them would have been fine, but I eventually decided that I just needed to unpick those parts and include it back in. And I did such a good job, I can't even tell you which side it was. I really think it was this side that I forgot. So I really only had to pick out this little bit right here and this little bit right there and tuck the leaf in there, and then just went back over it. Now because I'm using monofilament thread on the top, super easy. I didn't have to worry about matching the stitches exactly where I was. If I'd used colored thread, I would have been much more conscious of making sure my stitches started so that they looked very even. I'm using that blanket stitch around the edge. And I would have had to be much more careful about making sure I had the stitches evenly spaced, just because that would have been more noticeable. But with the monofilament thread on the top, you don't even see it. It blends right in with each one of the colors. And then on the back, I use the white thread in my bobbin. So it just goes in. Nobody'd even be able to tell. So I did update it, did fix it, so no longer a problem. So then this week I did work on the spools blocks, and these are the cutest. There are 2 of them. This is the larger spool. And the way Lori has you do this is you sew these 3 pieces of fabric together, so they're one big rectangle, and then you put the Sew Simple shape on top of that and trace over. Super easy to turn, not a problem with those at all, and I really like the look of this. I'm thinking a whole quilt just with applique spools would be really cute, and especially since you could do it with the short one and the small one. So on the Sew Simple shapes, you're actually using the same shape for both of them, except you cut this one a little shorter. Actually, you move the whole shape up so that it cuts it a little shorter. there are lines on the So Simple shape to help you line that up so you can see where to do that. But I just think those are adorable. And then just the circles. This is the bias tape. You make it with the bias tape maker, but it's not on the bias. It's just simply straight. This is a 1/4 inch finished. So really, really cute. I love these, especially that pink one. I like that one. Then the other block that I did this week was the brown bird. We've made several different birds. The others have been blue. This is the first one we've done in brown, but the same pattern. I think there's 3 birds on the complete quilt. 2 are facing one direction and 1 is turned the other way, but that's really up to you. You can do them however you want. And now this, the flower stem here is also made with the bias tape maker. And it's not necessarily on the bias, like I said, but because you're able to iron it and kind of as, I made all of the stems like this long ago, so they've just been wound on a spool, and I should have brought that to show you, but I didn't. And so I just cut off the amount that I need, and I think this one was like 6 inches or so, and she has you fold under one end because that's going to show here. The other end you don't have to worry about because it's tucked behind the flower. But so I cut off the length that I needed, and then I laid it on my ironing mat, or my ironing little station there. And as I was ironing or pressing, I just kind of, let me show you. I just held one end and I just kind of did it in a sweeping motion. Instead of just pressing straight out, I kind of did it in a sweeping motion and a little bit of a curve so that it just bends that that piece a little bit. You didn't need too much. And really, then I kind of got it in place, and I'd even bend it a little bit more. The stitches hold it down. You know, if it wasn't stitched down, it would probably tend to be a little straighter, but with the stitches, it holds it all down, and you really just needed a slight bend in it. And Lori does these cutest little flowers. These are actually a yellow circle behind this purple print here, and so it makes that bulb shape for the flower. But really cute. Really liking these. Everything's coming together. Like I said, I only have 2 more weeks to make up on, and so hopefully I can get a little bit of that done and start getting to the point where I can finish this quilt up and get it on the long arm and have it all finished. I'd be excited for that. And so I will link everything down in the description if you're interested in doing it. It's not too late. Like I said, you can follow along on Lori's blog, and all the instructions are there. So really fun. So let me show you where the blue block, you can see the blue block. Here's one of the spools right here in the quilt. Here is the brown bird, and the other spool is over here on this side, on the other side of the vegetables. So they're spread throughout the quilt a little bit there. And then the other birds, you have, I'm sorry, that was a black one that we did. There's the black bird there, and the blue one, do I see? Oh, he's down here underneath the fruit basket, along with those seedlings blocks that I showed you the last time. So all of those are right there. Really cute quilt. All right, so those are all the projects of mine that I got done this week. So let's move on to some client quilts. And I have 5 total. So I think I'm going to start with the one that is on the desk. So let me insert some pictures, and then we can talk about it. So the first 2 quilts I'm going to show you come from Cathy, and Cathy is a local quilter here to me. And this first pattern is called Flamingo Toes, and this is a pattern from Beverly McCullough, and I will link to that pattern down below. And you'll notice from Cathy's quilt that she made it a little bit different than the pattern. She's improvised a little, which is always wonderful. Her quilt has the pink flamingo, which is just like the pattern. And then she has done the entire background in this aqua teal color. On the pattern, you'll see that they just have more of a creamy color background with just spurts mixed in of the different aqua. This is really a cute effect by doing the whole thing the aqua color. And I would say these are all about 2-inch squares is what they are. So a great thing to use up scraps if you have them, especially if you have them all in the same colorway. And then you have the flamingo in the pink. Now there is an eye that Cathy will add later once she gets this back. And then Cathy has also added several borders around. So she added this skinny brown or black border, and then she's done another whole border with the aqua teal scraps again to match this. Really cute. And then the outside border is probably about a 4-inch border around the outside, that black border. So really, really cute. And the backing fabric, she has this pretty aqua spiral print, and then there you can see the pantograph really well. This is called Spiral Rings, and we used an evergreen color, so it blends right in with the back. That color does. Now you can notice it a little more bold on the black. You can tell it's still got lint everywhere, but you can see the evergreen. You can see the wintergreen color there on the black, but it absolutely blends in with everything else. And even on top of the pink, from a distance you don't see it, like we talk about all the time. It's just a really cute effect on the, when you get in close, you're gonna see the design, and from far away, you see the quilt. Just this double effect there. So a pixelated pattern, all done with small squares. And if you are into flamingos, you will love that, won't you? So this quilt measures 48 by 78. This would be a nice wall hanging, a nice lap quilt. Little girl would really love that, I think. Let me show you the body of the flamingo. All the pinks that are in there. So, so cute. And that spiral rings pattern just kind of gives the feel of water or movement, or even the, you know, tail feathers, kind of how they might swirl around. A really cute quilt. A lot of fun there. All right, I will pull down Janet's second quilt. It's the purple one that's tucked in behind there. I'll pull that one down and we can talk about that one next. Cathy's second quilt, she actually made from just a picture. So I do not know the pattern name of this quilt. She said she saw a picture on Pinterest and she just decided to try it on her own. So if you're wanting a pattern for this, you'll have to do some searching around. But you can tell from the bigger picture that it gives the effect of a circle shape, but it's not done in circles. And so where you can see here, this square right here is a half square triangle, you know, cut straight there. Now this one right here and this one right here, this is actually, here is the block. So you have this purple triangle print, and then you have what I would guess, I didn't ask Cathy exactly, but what I would guess is that you have a rectangle of fabric here. This would be my hope. Okay, let me say that. If you were making this, we talked about last time, I do not like sewing on the bias. I think it's difficult to keep your blocks square. I think it's frustrating when you're doing it on the sewing machine, things stretch. And so when I see this triangle block right here, what I see is a rectangle of this white background fabric, this busy background fabric. I see a rectangle placed on top of a purple square. And this rectangle here, and then I see this still wouldn't be easy, but stitching diagonally from this corner to the middle point of this purple square right here. And then fold, you know, I don't know that that would work. Because it's not square, it wouldn't work. Or would it work? No, it's not going to work that way. That wouldn't work. It works with a square. It doesn't work with a triangle. So maybe this has to be done on the bias. I really don't know. I really don't know. I didn't talk to Cathy about it. But that's what I see is this is sewn from the upper corner to the middle of this purple block. And then maybe it's trimmed. Maybe it has to be done on the bias. I don't know. I don't know how that was done. But I can see what the block is. So it gives the effect of the circle shape because you're putting it next to a half square triangle. And then this one is a square with a triangle here, and it completes the rectangle shape by stitching from this corner here to the middle of that purple. And then this corner here to the middle of that purple. And then you put one of those on this side, one of those on this side. And that's interesting because this triangle, what I would say is faced this way, and this triangle is faced up. You see that? But because of the different dimensions, it looks like the same size, same block exactly, but this one the triangle is pointing up, and this one the triangle is actually pointing this direction. And then it creates that curve effect. This here is a 4-patch. This one is a half square triangle, but then again we have one of those triangle blocks here. I told Cathy that was amazing that she figured this out and didn't have a pattern, because each one of these on the ends, this is again one of those triangle blocks. So when I return the quilt to her, I'm going to have to ask how that was pieced together, because I don't know. That is I've never done one like this. So with this pattern, this background fabric creates the very busyness of this quilt, which is really cute. You could do this with a lighter, you know, more of a subtle print, and it would change the whole dimensions of this quilt. It really would. So every pattern can be done to make for what you like, you know. And so then she's done a purple border around the edge. This is again probably a 5-inch border around the edge, it looks like. Then the backing fabric. You're going to want to see that. The backing fabric is this Peacock. It's called Peacock Fantasy by Ann Lauer, L-A-U-E-R, Gulch Galleries, Grizzly Gulch Galleries. And if you remember, we did, not Cathy, I did somebody else, a different client had this same backing fabric, and we did this same pantograph as well. This is called ICAT. ICAT 1. There is an ICAT 2 that actually repeats each of those lines again. We just did the ICAT 1. We did it a fairly large size because there's enough going on in this quilt. We didn't need to add too much more. What I like about this pantograph, you can see it here in the border, it has good coverage. So it gives the effect of very dense quilting when it's really not. There's a lot of open space, but each one of those spaces is about 1 inch apart, you know, and a little bit more in the center of that peacock, what appears to be a peacock with the ICAT there. We used a medium gray thread, and that blends really well with all of the darker colors. I've mentioned that many times. I a lot of times use gray when I'm doing anything with color, with this busy of a color, any of the darker colors as well, using a gray. If you use a white or a cream color, it just really stands out, and I don't think there's, some quilts you may want that. I don't think it's necessary. This is busy enough. We want the quilting to really hide in the background, and it really does with this one. It adds a lot of effect. You can see from the big pictures, the effect of the pantograph is really stunning, but when you're up close, it's almost the opposite of what normal, you know. So normally you see the quilt first, and then when you get in closer, you see the stitching. This one's almost the other way around. When you lay the quilt out large, yes, you see the pattern of the quilt, but I think you can see the the pantograph, the stitching, even better when it's laid out large. When you get in close, you kind of lose the effect. Or when you get in close, I don't know if I said that right. When you get in close on this quilt, there's so much busyness in the fabrics that you kind of lose the pantograph in there. And so you can almost see the pantograph better when it's laid out full. Wow, Cathy, I don't know how you did that. Cathy also likes a lot of the Bonnie Hunter patterns and the small piecing and the intricate details, and so she's had good practice, I guess, with the Bonnie Hunter ones, and able to do this on her own is a talent. That is a true talent. So, all right, so those were Cathy's 2 quilts for this week. Next, let's move on to, we'll just go down the row. We'll start with the Hocus Pocus quilt at the top. Judy made this quilt, and these are all fabrics called All Hallows Eve, and they were done by Fig Tree. These are all Fig Tree fabrics, so Joanna Figueroa, and really cute line. I like, it's not the bright orange, it's a little toned down, almost a melon orange, which is so cute, and no really Halloween prints per se. But very much texture prints. So you have some vines, you have some orange peel, a little bit of flowers there. The blacks are nice, the different blacks. This one it almost has a little bit more of a, not a spider web, but almost like a windmill type look to it. And then this one's really cute too, this orange and black one is the orange peel print, but with the colors, how they've done 2 colors on top of the background is really pretty. And there's some just floral prints, and then there's a whole set of the grays, the blacks, and then the melon pumpkin colors. I like this quilt because it has the different sizes of pumpkins. And so those are all Joanna Figueroa prints, even the white. I don't know if I can get this with a glare. You can see it's that same orange peel fabric, just in the white on the white. The quilt itself, the quilt pattern is Hocus Pocus, and this is by Margot Languedo. Margot Languedoc. Languedoc, Languedoc. And she has a shop on Etsy, so you can find this pattern on there. The quilt measures 52 by 68. So again, a nice size lap quilt. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of pumpkins. And then you also have some of these stars interspersed. For the background fabric, or not the background fabric, but the backing fabric, this is also a Joanna Figueroa print from the same line. And I actually have some of the background fabric or backing fabric left. All Hallows Eve, yeah, it's in the same line. You can see it unquilted. So a cream color backing background with little orange dots creating that flower effect. Reminds me of the old Light Bright. Did you play with Light Bright as a kid? I did. And that's all I could do. I mean, you had those designs you could make, poking through the black paper. But a lot of times I just end up sitting there making these little flowers on my Light Bright. All right, so let's talk about the pantograph. So Judy was looking for a pantograph that could be made larger. She doesn't like really dense quilting. And so I sent her, actually I looked through several pumpkin prints just to get one that I could expand and it would leave that the middle of the pumpkin open. There are many different designs that actually did little swirls in the pumpkin, or the pumpkin was much smaller, and just the way they had designed it, it wasn't going to look good blown up bigger. This one I really liked because there was nothing on the inside of the pumpkin. Let me find one that is right side up and where you can see it. Most of the ones right here are upside down. So it does them upside right and upside down. So that's the way the pattern goes. Because if you were doing this, I mean, this quilt is obviously directional. You're going to have it this way. But on something else that, you know, like that purple quilt, it's not directional. It didn't matter whether you had this at the top or this at the top. So that's why they'll create a pantograph like this. So it doesn't matter which way the quilt is laid. There are some pumpkins facing you and some pumpkins not facing you. So here is one of the pumpkins. There you can see how open this inner space is. And then it has a little leaf right there, and then the pumpkin swirls, the pumpkin vine. If you've ever grown pumpkins, you know that it has those vines all over the place. And they're prickly too, in order to keep the predators away, trying to keep those that would come in and eat your pumpkins. That's why you have those prickly vines. But it is, so the quilt, you know, the pumpkin is larger than my hand right there, and all of that is open. I love the ridged bottom of the pumpkin as well. And this stitches out in rows this way, so you'll have one that's right side up, and then the one next to it, you can just kind of see the bottom of that one is upside down, so they all nest in really well together. So this one was a really nice one to keep open and big. Here's some close-up of the leaves. That white just really reflects the sunlight. You can see some of the vines. Pretty tight vines, which, you know, that's the way a pumpkin vine is. It's, you know, a skinnier, tighter in there. Really cute quilt. I really like this one. And this one, look, I like how she's switched up some of the leaves are all the same, but the stems are back and forth. Here's an orange on a black, a gray on a black on an orange. They're all different ones. So really cute, Judy. I really like this quilt. Don't really want to think about fall at this point. I still want to enjoy summer, but you will be ready. So, all right, let's move on to Judy's second quilt, which is the star one down there. I talk to you each month about the Sew Sampler box, the subscription box from Fat Quarter Shop, and this pattern that Judy made this quilt from is actually from one of those boxes. So this was the February box, and this pattern is called Alfresco, and this is exclusive to the box, so this is not a pattern that you can buy. So if you so sorry. But if you subscribe to that box, then each month you get a pattern, and you will get some fabric to help make this pattern. You don't get all of the fabric, but for like this one, they sent the Jolly Bar that goes with this. But what Judy did was take this basic design here in the middle, and she made it larger for herself. This quilt measures, and the pattern itself measures 54 by 54. And Judy made hers, let me pull this out, 61 by 80. So she kept this same basic inner design, but here I'll point out how she changed the borders. But she used the same fabric line. The sun-washed fabric line by Coriander is what she used for this pattern, for her quilt. All right. We'll start with one of these green blocks. I'll start here. So very large, I would say this is probably a 5-inch, 4-inch square, something like that. Just a 4-patch, and these are just half square triangles. and you arrange them that way. It's so cute. These are all, you can see 3 different fabrics beside your background fabric, and just alternating as they go around. Really cute. Really like this. And the background is just a white, no pattern to it at all, just a white. So each one of them uses, color coordinating fabric. So here are the blues with some smaller prints there. The yellow, this one has, I'll show you just half of it. The middle is yellow, but there's another yellow one that has orange in it that's really cute too. Let me show you this one. With the orange center, and that's cute too. Different greens. And my favorite is the gingham. Oh yeah. All right, so instead of just doing the 4 squares like the pattern called for, Judy has 1, 2, 3, 4 rows with 3 across, so a total of 12 blocks altogether. So she tripled the middle part of this. And here is there's a little cornerstone. So you have a sashing between each of the blocks, but when you use the same color fabric, you don't even see it. So there is a white sashing, but then she added this cute little, just a very small flower print right there. So it's just a very subtle effect. But that little cornerstone, you could make that a darker color. Let me show you in the pattern. They did it a floral one, that almost like they fussy cut the flower to show it in there. But you could do it, whatever color cornerstone you wanted. And then the fabric has, or the pattern, I'm sorry, has the whole piano key border around the edges, and that's not what Judy did. Instead, she did another white border around the edge, very similar to the sashing. And then around the edges, she just used, I'm assuming what was probably the Jolly Bar. No, or it might have been, they look like 2.5-inch strips. And she just interspersed them with a white piece, and then a colored one, and then, then another white one, and a colored one all the way around the quilt. Then in the corners, she created these little corner squares. So this one, I'm assuming, let me see. Okay, she did it in, you could do this a couple different ways. You could cut a whole white background square and then put easy corner triangles on all 4 corners. Judy actually has 2 pieces here, so like a flying geese unit is what she's done, and then join the 2 together. And then put that at the end of this border, and then at the end on the top of that border. So a great idea, improvise these patterns. This one was a little small, so she made it on the size that she needed. And then here's the backing fabric. And I will look real quick and see what the backing fabric is here. I have just the selvage edge, and it is in the same sun-washed line, that Coriander fabric. I should have realized that. It was probably in one of the stars, and I didn't even notice it. Yep, there it is right there. I should have noticed that. All right, and let's talk about the pantograph. I think you can see it pretty well on the backing fabric. So Judy asked for the Dave's sunflowers, and again, she didn't want it tremendously small. And this one provides really good coverage, even though when you make it bigger. And not a lot of open spaces, but it's not quilted, but there's open spaces in the sunflower itself. So the sunflower is larger than my fist, is the size of that. And we've done this on other quilts where, I've made it a much smaller. I like this though. Actually, this is becoming, I almost like it bigger, better than I like it smaller. The more you do it, you kind of change your mind over time. Different pantographs will just do different. I tend to do a lot of tight quilting, but this one, I really like this one bigger. So that is Judy's second quilt, and really nice. So if you're interested in getting patterns like these from the Fat Quarter Shop, I'll put the link down below where you can subscribe to that box. It comes once a month. I think my June box should be here real soon, hopefully this week. And like I said, you always get a pattern and some fabric in there. It's always a pre-cut that you can use with the pattern that's included. There's always 2 or 3, 4 little notions of some kind, and then there's always the block of the month that we're working on, and that's the pressed flowers blocks that I showed. Was that last week? I think it was. I showed the pressed flowers blocks. No, 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Recently, I showed the pressed flowers blocks, and the next block of the month pattern for that quilt along comes in each one of the boxes. So it's really fun. I enjoy it. And you can make beautiful quilts like this. All right, I have one more quilt to show you. You can just barely see it at the bottom of the ladder. And this is Kelly's, and I will pull it down and you can look at some pictures. So Kelly made this quilt. This is the Fat Quarter Shop 2022 Designer Mystery Block of the Month. And she used all Camille Roskelley's fabrics from her Nantucket line. So beautiful. And I really like this one, that bigger design you see. You can see the star shape when you lay it all out. Just beautiful. This is a classy quilt. Whether I like the colors of it, or just feel very classy to me. The prints of the fabric just feel very classy and just very soothing. And of course, Camille's fabric lines are always that way. I just feel, if you've ever seen her home, it has that feel to it. It's just a very calm, soothing feel, and I think all of her fabrics really reflect that. And so each one of the blocks, if you can see the bigger picture, I just can't hold this up to show you everything. This quilt is 88 by 88, perfect for a bed quilt. Several of the blocks are the same, but the 4 corners were the same. And then the log cabin blocks are turned different directions so that when you lay it out bigger, you see that bigger design with the quilt. And then these inner blocks were different, if I remember right, but all of it coordinating very well when you use the same fabric line. Just for each one of them, just really, really, really nice. Each one of the blocks also has a sashing around it, or like a small border. That's a very skinny, I mean, it's probably a 1, it was probably a 2, probably 1.5 now, 2 when it started, around each one of the blocks. And then even have some 4 patches here. This is the center block, and it has, is that the center one? It's hard to see when it's folded up. So some of the blocks I see. So this center block does not have a sashing. Well, it does. I mean, it has a wider sashing with this 4 patch there. It has a wider white sashing than the others. All of the others are skinny sashings around each block. Now, some of them have some 4 patches within the block themselves. Like here in this block itself, it has some 4 patches, but that is in the block and not in the sashing part. So it's just that middle block that has the wider sashing with the 4 patches on the corners. Really pretty. All right, you can see the pantograph there. So because this quilt just had a very classy feel to me, I just keep saying that, I wanted to choose, or I suggested this one to Kelly because it has the hint of the feather design. That's a very classic quilting design that have always been, for centuries have been put on quilt patterns, and so, or in stitching quilt designs. So I liked that it had that hint of the feather in it, but then it had this fun, playful, flowery type feel with the swirls in there. So the combination of the two made it a more modern quilt, made it just add some playfulness and a little more modern feel, but then with the hint of the feather made it a hint toward the classy as well. So kind of a good combination of modern and classic, because you have a lot of classic blocks in here too, Log Cabin being one of them, and the star ones. You have just a lot of classic things, but with the newer fabric line, it just, I just really love this. So that's why I suggested this. This pantograph is called Wave on Wave. To me, really, the name doesn't really describe the pantograph, I want to say, but sometimes you have that. I just really like, look at that, the feather classy feel. I can't tell you how long I practiced that when I was doing hand guided to try to get those feather, you know, right there, that little bump right there. You practice forever to get those, and they're just absolutely beautiful on this quilt. Let me show you the backing fabric really quick. This is another one of Camille's fabric lines, and like I said, if you follow Camille very much, you know she likes to use these big flowered prints on the back of her quilts. And it just, this, I don't believe that this is on the front of the quilt at all, but the fabric coordinates beautifully, and just, again, just a classy feel to this. I really like this, and I can't tell you how many comments I got from my family when this was on the long arm of how pretty it was, and really liked the colors, or really liked the piecing, how well it was done. My husband even made the comment how nice the piecing was, and just a very pleasant quilt to work on. So very pretty, Kelly, and I can't wait for you to get this back so you can finish the binding and get that done. What a neat thing. All right, and so that is a wrap for this week, and that's all the quilts that I have done. Been really busy, but got a lot done this week. I'm excited about that. So I hope you'll join me back here next week. If you are in need of long arm quilting services, I would direct your attention to the comments down, not the comments, but the description down below. I'll have a link there where you can find how to get your quilt to me and all the prep instructions that you'll need there. And I would look forward to working on one for you. So as I always say, every quilt is worth finishing, whether it's your first one, your 100th one, or the one you find in your grandmother's cedar chest. They're worth finishing because there's history there, and they're worth pulling out and finishing. You'll really love it when you do. So until next week, I hope you have a wonderful week, a wonderful 4th of July if you're here in the U.S., and so thankful to live in America and to celebrate that history that we have. I hope you'll do that with your family this week or next week, and I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you back here next week. After filming the video, I was able to meet with clients and ask them about the one blocks I was talking about. I didn't know how they made. First of all, I need to say that the client's name was Janet. I continued to call her Cathy while I was doing the video, and I so apologize for that. But I met with her today when I was returning her quilts, and she said the rulers that she used to create those triangle blocks, one was called the I have a Rex tool, R-E-C-S, Rex tool, and also the Tri tool. And these are acrylic templates, rulers that are made by Darlene Zimmerman and Joy Hoffman. And if I can find links for those, I'll put them in the description. If not, I would just look at your local Joann's or other craft store and see if you can find them there. She did not have a pattern for that big purple quilt. She really just found a picture, and she played with the measurements and everything, which I know everybody can't do, but if you're interested in making that quilt for yourself, I would just browse around and see if you can find a pattern or find those rulers. And she said there are directions in those rulers for how to make those blocks. So I hope that helps you, and have a great week. We'll see you next week.